NBGo, as noted here on the first page, just to give you the gist of it, we'll take the application, you take the compensation. What that means is, previously, the way that it was always done is you went out, you sold a life insurance policy, you downloaded the app, or you called us, we sent you the app, you fill out the long version of the app, and then you send it in to us. From there, we get it to the underwriter. Well, the downside of doing it that way, aside from how monotonous it can be filling out these 40-page apps, is that chances are somewhere along the line, if not on every case, but usually, there's something somewhere that didn't get, a T that didn't get crossed or an I that didn't get dotted, a date that was forgotten, something along those lines. So what happens from there is we've got to go back to you and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, you forgot the date on this one page. Okay, no problem. Then you go to the client. Usually it takes a day or two to get a hold of the client. You get the date, client gets it back to you, you get it back to us, we get it back to the underwriter. So there's all that bouncing around over one missing date. The upside to using NBGo is that the application team that takes the app on your behalf, their systems are built to not allow them to go forward without missing information. And this is all they do. They don't sell insurance. They don't offer alternatives. All they do is they just process the application the exact way that you ran the quote. So what that means is that they're very good at taking applications. They typically don't or can't miss dates or T's getting crossed, I's getting dotted. So, it speeds up the underwriting process, and it eliminates a lot of that back and forth, which is usually just busy work, and slows things down. So that's kind of the upside to using NBGo. So I'm going to move on here. Okay. So on this page, as I was saying before, when sounds like a lot of you couldn't hear me, these are the carriers that we work with on the NBGo platform. So while overall we have a lot more carriers than this, I think we have about 60 at last count, some of those other carriers don't have DocuSign capabilities, or for whatever reason their technology just doesn't align with NBGo. So you can still write with those other carriers, it just has to be on paper apps or PDF apps. But these are the carriers that you can submit via NBGo. So any American General, Banner, et cetera, et cetera. These are all quotes that you can run and submit on NBGo, and we'll call and do the application over the phone. Move on here. Here we go. Okay. So some of the reasons to use NBGo, and I'll try not to harp on some of the obvious ones, but for the most part, using NBGo allows you to do what you do best, which is sell insurance. I mean, unless you really excel at the admin side and you have a passion for administration and filling out applications, this would be for you. If not, which I would think that most of us do not love that side of it. We like to do what we do best, which is sell insurance. Another reason to use it, again, not to harp on the same things, but you get a complete application the first time. It may not seem like much initially because, maybe just in that example I gave earlier where we didn't miss that date and it cut just a little bit of time, times that over all the cases you write over the course of a year. So if, let's say, I'm going to make up some numbers here, but let's say you do 20 cases a year and your income from your life insurance apps is somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000. Well, if reducing just a little bit of time on each one of those cases allows you more time to do what you do best, maybe you'll sell 25 cases instead of 20. And instead of 20,000, now it's 25. So just to give you a little bit of an idea on some of the reasons why chipping away at those little nuances that slow things down can make a big difference overall in the long run. So that's something that I would encourage you to look at. Moving forward here. Okay. I'm sorry if my throat sounds a little scratchy. I'm a little under the weather today, so if I sound a little rough around the edges, that's what it is. So thanks for bearing with me. So a couple other features to NBGo. We still do full case management. So once you submit the application, it goes to the application team, and from there, they do the application over the phone with the client, send out DocuSign signatures, and then that goes to the case manager that is dedicated to you. They will then order the paramed exam and order any APS records if necessary. Hopefully none are necessary. We like to avoid it when possible, but they handle all of that for you. Additionally, you can access your case status anytime in the OES system just by going to oes.napbrokers.com, and you can check full case status, so you can see where the case is at, any notes between the underwriter and the case manager, or the client and the case manager, any outstanding requirements for you, any outstanding requirements for us, for the client. So you can see all of that in real time in the OES. I'm going to move forward here. Okay, here we go. So here it is. Here's the life cycle of a life insurance application through NBGo. So any circle in the green here is something that you would do. Anything in the gray is something that we would do. So what you do is you access NBGo, you quote your client, and then you submit that quote to NBGo. From there, our team calls the client, takes the app over the phone, orders a paramed, gathers signatures, deals with underwriters, obtaining applications, handling approvals, and then we get those approvals to you, and you can deliver the good news. And then, of course, you get full compensation for doing so. So there's no cut in your compensation for using NBGo. So there's really no downside to it. For the most part, occasionally, maybe it's a really delicate client that you just want to white glove and handle yourself, which is understandable. But for the most part, there's really no downside to doing it. So if you haven't tried it yet, I would really encourage you to do so. I'll move forward here. Okay, there we go. So a couple things that you can do to ensure a smooth process, and ensuring a smooth process is good for everybody, because then the client has a smoother process, they have a better feel overall for it, and they don't get a bad taste in their mouth because they weren't expecting a call from a stranger or something like that. So number one thing you can do is prepare them after submitting the quote that somebody from your application team is going to be calling. And just a tip, I would word it that way too. I would say someone from my application team is going to be calling you to do it. Kind of adds some credibility to you. It makes you, we like to sound important, and it does. It makes it look like you've got a team doing this stuff for you. So let them know that somebody from your application team is going to call to do the app over the phone. A couple other things you can do to ensure a smooth process is at least a little bit of field underwriting. I mean, the more you do, the better, because nobody wants to deliver bad news. If we're quoting preferred plus and it comes back, standard, that's bad news that nobody wants to give. So just doing a little bit of field underwriting up front can save you and the client and us and everybody a little bit of heartburn. And if you're not sure quite how to do field underwriting, or you're not sure where to start, first thing I would do is just ask for a list of their medications. That'll tell you a lot. So if they're taking metformin, that means, well, they probably have diabetes, or et cetera, et cetera. So if you're not sure where to start, just start by asking for a list of meds. Moving on here. Okay, it looks like it's a little bit of out of order there on those bullet points because I already went over that. Also, let your client know that after we call and do the app, to be looking in their email, because they're going to have that DocuSign application usually within 24 hours from the time that they do it. Why is it not instant, you might ask? Because the app still has to be scrubbed. There's someone still who checks quality just to make sure that all those T's are crossed and all those I's are dotted. So let them know to keep an eye on their email box after taking the app. And then also, something else you can do is utilize the OES account to check case status. I know sometimes it's easier to call up and ask the case manager to look for you, which you can do. However, you might sometimes get the answer faster just by looking in the OES. If you look and it doesn't make sense, or there's something in there that is confusing, by all means, give us a call and we'll go over it with you. But I would encourage you to start there. just to see, where we're at and what the requirements are. Move forward here. And that's more or less it in a nutshell. I wanted to try and keep this one short today just because I wanted to go over some of the basics on NBGo, what it is, why we do it, how we do it, what happens in the process. We've got a couple of good tutorials on our YouTube channel, also on our website. If you go to website and then tools, you can see tutorials on how to submit a case, some of the features about NBGo. So I'm going to look here and see if anybody's got any questions. One question, how much does it cost? Doesn't cost anything. NBGo is free to use. You still get the same comp as you would normally get. So I'll give you an example. If you sold a 20-year term and let's say the commission on that term was $900. So if you take a paper app, you would get a commission of $900. If you run it through NBGo, you would get a commission of $900. So there's no cut in doing it this way. And why do we do it for free? That's another question I get asked is, well, what's in it for you? What's in it for us is that it's cleaner applications because we have an app team that just specializes in it. So it's easier for us really to do the case management that way, and more cases go through faster and more efficiently. So it's really best for everybody doing it this way. So good question though, thanks for asking. Got another question here. How many days in processing do we save? It's a little bit subjective just because it depends on all the factors. But I think last I saw, I'm trying to remember the stat, it just changes so much, and it depends on, one person might have cases that are all, high risk, they're all table rated, in which case there's APS records ordered, and, that slows things down no matter what, versus somebody else who does, 10 times as many cases, but they're all just 10-year terms for healthy people. So on average, though, I believe we cut it from 40, I want to say it was 44 days down to 31 on average over the course of a year, and that fluctuates. So, don't hold my feet to the fire if I'm off a little bit there. But hope that gives you a little bit of an idea. Let's see, other questions. Do I have to register to use NBGo? Yes and no. I'll give you an example on the yes. Let's say we don't have you in system and you went to navbrokers.com and clicked on NBGo and you submitted a case. What would happen, it's still going to prompt you to put in your name, phone number, and email address, and then the client's name, phone number, and email address. And so even if we've never heard of you, and this is the first time we've talked to you, still we're going to get an email that the case came through with all your info, and then someone here from our team is going to reach out to you and say, hey, how's it going? We see you submitted a case here through NBGo. So no, you don't have to be registered. However, once you are in system and registered, it skips that step because we'll know who to assign the case to. Good question, though. Thank you for asking. See if there's any other questions here. Looks like some of the questions are coming in private, some are coming in public. Nope, that one I already got to. Okay, well, I guess that's it. So if there aren't any other questions, I would just close by saying, for more information, give your rep a call. If you don't have a rep, just call our 800 number, 1-800-377-6344, and we'll assign a rep that works specifically with you, who's there for quoting or risk assessments or anything that you need. Also, if you check us out on our YouTube channel, a lot of good information out there about, again, on NBGo and about who we are and some other things. Like there's a couple of quick videos on good ways to do field underwriting and maybe the difference between a GUL versus an IUL, just a lot of good tidbits of information. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe there and check out some of the videos. And as always, I just want to thank you for joining the webcast. And if you think of any other questions, just give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'll get back to you, relatively quickly to answer those. So looking forward to working with you guys. Thanks again, and have a great day.